Hi, everyone. It's Martha Novak, and this is a show called Real Talk with Martha Novak, Sid person. Today we are, I don't know when people will be listening to this show. You can listen all year long to all my archive shows, which I'm delighted about, of course. But today, in real time, it's the holidays. And I think it's really important for us to talk about holidays and why we're reacting the way we do and how to have really good ones. So I don't care what your religion is. It doesn't really matter about what we all believe or when our holidays actually are. The fact is that the same things as human beings make us happy. And because holidays are one of those things that heighten energy, what's not quite fixed down there inside of us usually surfaces, whether it's our irritability or our overwhelm or our inability to handle stress well in one way or another, or many other things. That's when they surface. Now, we're going to talk all about everything today. And I've got some tips for you, of course, as I always do, because I want you to be able to translate what we're saying about consciousness into your daily life, okay? And so you'll have a good one. But we are also going to, I'm going to tell you some personal experiences that I've had, hoping that they'll mean something to you and you can learn from my mistakes, and we can go on and have a happy life, all of us now together in this new way of thinking about ourselves and our world and our God. Let's do a prayer, put us all on the same page, and then we'll launch into the information as usual. Dear God, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here together, for us to explore how we feel about ourselves and the holidays and our lives. And we open now to what you would have us know. We give up knowing anything right now in these 90 minutes, for it's the you through us and through all things that really know it all. You touch us, dear God, from within, where you are in all of us, and help us know what to straighten out in our thinking and our feeling and our doing, that we may have a better experience of not only the holidays, but each and every day of our lives. We open now to that kind of information and that kind of profound knowledge that can only come from you. Thank you so much, dear God. We celebrate all of this. We open now to the truth that lies in your enlightenment. We say this in your name, in the name of the Ascended Masters, our love-centered guides and friends, and in the name of each and every person listening to this show today and at any other time. And so it is. Amen. By the way, kids, why we have the holidays that we do, we are reacting in a positive or negative way to what we had in the past. You understand? It's interesting because there is no family that isn't in some way difficult. It's just families, right? But my family was always very good on Christmas Day. They were very good on Christmas Day. By the way, I will never forget being at a funeral years ago, and these people were very dear, but they obviously could not handle their emotions. And the dear friend that I was with said to me, there is always a fight on the funeral parlor lawn whenever there's a funeral because nobody can handle their emotions. Isn't that funny? I thought it was hilarious. But the truth is, it's pretty much true for these holidays that we're in right now as well. Sometimes people just don't know how to handle emotions well. Now, in my family, everybody loved Christmas. They loved Christmas. So while certain people in this family were not the most generous, and they were a few narcissists mixed in there, they didn't want their holiday spoiled, so they weren't going to pick a fight with anybody on that day, right? However, kids, I work with a lot of people whose holidays were not happy and had dramatic events happening to them, all sorts of things. While my day was warm and joyous and gave me a sense of belonging, at least on that day, there are other families that can cause loneliness and stress and sadness and anxiety. People drink and drug sometimes that day, are belligerent, even violent, and some never get out of bed to make sure that their darling children have a nice Christmas or a nice Hanukkah. Oddly enough, it's a fallacy that this is a big suicide rate time. Isn't that interesting? Science has proved that Christmas and these holidays of Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever other holiday you're celebrating at any point, is not the time for highest suicide rates. Oddly enough, the highest suicide rates are from April to August. Isn't that weird? When the holidays are not. As I said before, it's my opinion that the same things that give you a wonderful holiday give you a wonderful life. Balance, gratitude, love, awe, kindness, compassion, generosity, forgiveness, and more. These things give you a wonderful life, and these things give you a wonderful holiday. My point being that if you haven't found these things in your life, the holidays, because the energy here is heightened, lets you see they're not present yet. And that's a wonderful gift in itself, because you say, I see that, and I'm going to give myself the gift of working on these things this year, because I realize there's a problem here. When anything is heightened, we see it more clearly. This is important for a lot of reasons. I want to talk about this a little more. Life happens, stress happens, illness happens, holidays happen. I'm putting them all in that category because all of these things heighten energy. Heighten energy. They, in the heightening of energy, they bring up sometimes what's buried within us, or they emphasize it enough because the energy is behind it so we can see it more clearly. Yes, I said before. For whatever reasons we freak out or are depressed over the holidays, they're just heightening the problem for us to see. By the way, the same thing goes with illness. When I'm ill, I get depressed. I think a lot of people do, by the way. It's not because I want to be well. It's not because of a misguided notion that God's forsaken me. It's not because I feel really bad. It's because I'm not creating anything. And I love to create things. Do I put my worth in creating things? By the way, no, that's not true. That used to be true when I was a child, but it's not true now. It is because being creative is one of my values. I express myself this way. I love learning. I love discovering things in creativity. I love thinking. I love doing things with thought. And when I'm ill, all that stops. I don't have the extra energy, that oomph that makes life really fun for me in that arena. Excuse me, there is something I want to take off this screen. If you see me Oh, hey, Sheila. How are you, darling? There was something in my way, and I couldn't see what you'd written. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for tuning in today. So, that's one of the things I want you to understand here, that in the heightened energy, it's actually a good thing because we see what's wrong. We see what's broken. It's the same with illness, with any kind of stress that brings up what's lying hidden in there or emphasizes it. Okay? That's a good thing, not a bad thing, even if it doesn't feel good. Because you see it, if you can see it, you can fix it. So, I've got some general tips about how to make the holidays better, some of which you're probably already doing, and some of which are very personal at the end for me. And I'd like to give those to you. And I'd also like to wish something for you. So stay with me today, okay? The first tip is cultivate friends that give as much as they take. It's interesting because I see so many people alone for the holidays, and yet they have plenty of friends around them. But they have never realized that a relationship is a mutual giving. It's a mutual giving. It's giving and taking, all right? Energy goes both ways. Now, it doesn't have to go both ways at the same time. It certainly can, and those are really feel-good moments. Sometimes you're needy and they can give, and sometimes they're needy and you can give. But the relationship is as strong as the energy does go back and forth over a period of time, you see. That's a real relationship. So many relationships are built on not this kind of connection, but of just simple attachment. We are afraid that we will get in trouble because we don't trust ourselves. We think of ourselves deep down inside. It's a secret. As a child, we can't do anything. We can't initiate anything. We need people around us to help us because we're not capable. We have told ourselves, which is, by the way, not true. Absolute lie. And so we cultivate people because we may need them, and we are generous. I have a friend who's used to do this. She doesn't do this anymore, I'm glad, who was a client. And she came to me, and she did this. She attached to people instead of connected with them. And she was always afraid that they, hi. Well, hello, Peter. I'm so glad. Please join us. I would just love that. That's fun. I should say to all of you all, if you all want to call in, I am live and in person today, and my call-in number is 347-850-1647. That is if I can get you in. My problem is it is a bit rainy today, and I am in a remote location, so we can only hope for the best because our service seems to go according to the weather. You know how that is. Anyway, this dear woman really just never did trust herself, never did believe in herself. So she cultivated all of these people, and then she complained about, I'm so self-sacrificing. I've got to learn to stop self-sacrificing. But what do you think is the bottom line of her sacrificing? Her dependent personality. You see, that's the thing. It isn't that she's just so altruistic or that this is an issue in itself. No, it is a symptom of the fact that there's something wrong in a deeper way. That she does not trust herself to be the full adult and know who to call if something breaks, for example, and know how to deal with her emotions and all that, you see. So she feels like she's got to have all these people, and she does for them, and then gets very disappointed when they don't reciprocate because she has not formed reciprocal relationships with people that are aware enough to know it's a give and take on a deeper level. She also has shut off that deeper level and performs up there, or used to, on the surface, where attachment is, but not where connection is. And yet she yearns for connection, but she's afraid, isn't she? Because these people may turn and hurt her like the past did. Better to do what she's doing. Not trust herself. Not trust anybody else. Look like she's connecting when she's only attaching. Guys, we just can't go through life doing that. At some point, no matter what our relationship was to love, whether it disappointed us, hurt us terribly, scared us to death, or anything else, at one point in our maturity, in our walking, this walk with God. Hello, Lenise. Thank you, darling, for sharing that. That's so sweet of you. I'm so glad that you're with us today. Somewhere, walking this walk with God, we must take a chance on love, on being loved, on being love itself, and putting that out, because here's life. And this is, it really does take the mature mind to wrap around this. If you're ready for it, that may be why you're listening today. And that is, life is not about being loved, having that empty place filled up inside of us because we really don't think enough of ourselves. Life is about loving ourselves and others. Life is about loving so much that we're grateful for everything. And we let people be the way they are. I'm not saying these people are bad that can't give you anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they just are. They may not have that much in common with you. And darling, your relationships do change when you do this, because you wake up. It's not a judgment against anybody else. It's just you're not there anymore. Let's go on and have the rich life. Because I'm going to tell you something that you may object to right now in the ego child's mind, but every one of you are rich. You're rich with resources and the ability to make money and the ability to generate love that you don't even know about. Now, it's all in this work. It's all in the work that you do on yourself to move into these higher vibrations of your higher self, which is the God you are. It's the aspect of God that you are. Now, so is the ego child's mind, but the ego child's mind is that part of you that thinks like a child. That's God too. It's just that's God that believes in the lack of God. Do you see? It believes in the lack of God instead of the fullness of God. You understand that? Okay. Please ignore that sound. A dear friend of mine has forgotten I'm doing a radio show today, I think. You know, I've been coming and going with these radio shows because of company and the holidays and things like that. And I think I've genuinely confused my friends, so... I'm lucky that it's my own phone that isn't interrupting me in terms of me calling myself. I've done that before, too, by leaning on the wrong thing, It just happens. All right. So that's the first tip, sweeties, is to cultivate friends that will give and take with you. That's really important. Not only is it it's an important exchange of energy, everything is energy. I mean, even when I'm doing a session and my clients give me money, that's energy, and I give them 2 hours of whatever spirit is saying in my work through spirit for them to get rid of some of these issues and to move them into deeper consciousness. That's what I do. And by the way, that deeper consciousness you should want. You know why? It's your potential. It's your potential. Everybody throws around potential. But let me tell you, that's your potential. And that's where really you are led to your life purpose. Or purposes, by the way. We all have more than one. It's truly amazing. Okay? All right. Number 2 tip. Try not to get too fatigued. All of us don't seem, we've all worked hard in our lives. We've all tried to impress from our childhood, our mother, our father, and we've transferred that into the bigger world. We have tried to, we try hard. I don't know many people who don't try hard. However, there are some people that for certain reasons have learned not to. Okay, stop, Toffle. My dog is sitting behind me and he is objecting to something in the house. So if you hear growling, it's not my stomach. It's the little poodle behind me. Okay, we've all learned, Toffle, we've all learned to push without acknowledging how we feel. When we're stressed, our balance gets off in a lot of ways. We put, you're going to hear more about this later, tasks before people. We get irritable, angry, sad, remorseful after we have said or done something we shouldn't have. There is such a gift, and this is one of the things I work on with clients, to recognize what you're feeling on the front end of the experience, not when you're already way down the road. That's called an emotional spiral. When you don't catch something, when you don't say, I'm feeling really irritable, and you don't go, I'm feeling really irritable, I catch it, why am I irritable, I'm overworking, or whatever is the reason. And you don't stop it by talking to yourself beyond the lie about what's going on, or you don't sit down and rest, or you don't do the things that you should be doing. If you push on from that, you're going to be in an emotional tailspin. It's called an emotional spiral, and it's not going to get better. You're going to have to play it all the way out. And those minutes, hours, days that you're playing that out are not going to be happy ones. Because you're just letting yourself indulge in all of those old, here we are, secondary emotions. You remember my lectures on primary and secondary emotions? Let me just remind you of this. Primary emotions are the things that are only about the event. Only about the event. Secondary emotions about everything else. And secondary emotions are always from the ego child's mind. That's where the emotional spiraling is. In the primary emotions, it's only about the event. I use, for example, a car accident. All right, we all feel bad when we have a car accident. I mean, God forbid it's serious. But let's just say a minor fender bender. We've hit another car, okay? Or they've hit us. We've had one. What are your feelings concerning that? Disappointment that I wasn't looking. I was fiddling with the radio or looking down at where my pocketbook was that had turned over, and I hit this other car. Now, you notice I'm only dealing with these emotions. Certainly, we've got to see that nobody's hurt and all that kind of stuff. All that's true. But I'm just trying to stick with emotions right now. You're disappointed in yourself for looking down. Now, here's the thing. In that instance, and hitting another car and causing damage, and you need to then get active and call the police and do what you need to do, assure the other people, make sure they're not hurt, exchange information, all of that kind of thing. But the secondary emotions do something quite different with it. It's not about just that event. That event is only a trigger in the secondary emotions. In the secondary emotions, you are a bloomin' crapola creator. This always happens. You're always wrong. You're never responsible. You mess up every time. What an idiot you are with no end. Everybody's going to fuss at you. People are going to think you're crazy when you drive your broken car to the parties that you've got or anything else. See, you're just running with scissors at that point. When life and this mindfulness that everybody says is so good and nobody can do until they do some sort of work on themselves in consciousness is only about that moment and what happened and what you did and what you did not do. It's about that moment. It's not a pronouncement on your whole life, which, by the way, when you run with scissors and are in the secondary emotions, you're running with scissors. Okay? If you let yourself get too fatigued, you're going to do that. You've got to catch things on the front end. We'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. Don't overeat and overdrink. If you already feel bad emotionally, you're going to feel even worse physically. And sometimes that's the point. Sometimes we eat and drink too much and feel like hell because we're trying to distract ourselves from the emotional. We don't know what to do with the emotional. Well, here's the key. Find out what to do with the emotional. Work with somebody like me or someone else out there. By the way, if you're on my website, marthanovak.com, you're going to see several people that I've trained who are absolutely wonderful. You know, I help individuals. They help individuals. We're all here to help. But that's the important thing. Don't make it worse. Don't try to distract yourself from this by ending up in the bathroom over the, what do they call it, the porcelain bus? Don't do that. Find out what's wrong. Let's fix it. Everything's fixable. Okay. Number 4. Stressors are usually these around the holidays: a lack of time, a lack of money, pressure of gift giving, family gatherings, and stress at work. And for some reason, that beats out stress at home, stress at work. I don't know why. Trying to get your work done during the holidays is a big stressor for a lot of people. But here's my point, kids. These things have to be addressed as part of life. The first 2 lines should tell you that. Stressors are usually a lack of time or a lack of money. Lack is the word. All that, by the way, has to do with lack. What's lack the base of? The ego child's mind, a belief in lack. The ego child's mind sees everything as lack. It's the fear-based self. So even if you have moments where you pop out of it, you know, I was really proud of one of my clients this week who said, I am always in the ego child's mind. I'm always really proud of somebody that says that to me, because that takes a great deal of awareness for you to finally see, wait a minute, I'm always in the ego child's mind. I'm never in the other thing. Most people then go into this phase where they have a leg in the ego child's mind and a leg in the highest self, and they toggle back and forth, okay? Those triggers trigger us right back into the ego child's mind, which is what I'm supposed to help challenge and move, okay? Lack is the base of the ego child's mind. A belief in lack. Lack of time. I don't have enough time to find the right gift. Lack of insight. I don't have the insight to find the right gift. Lack of everything that is on this list. Lack of everything. So, it's a mindset, guys. You have the mindset of lack, or you have the mindset of everything is perfect. Now, if that triggers you that everything is perfect, because you're saying, I don't like my life and everything isn't perfect, that needs to be addressed, because you're just not open and seeing yet what you are going to eventually see when you get some of these old patterns of negative thinking and negative perceiving moved out. All right? This is an abundant universe. So these things must be addressed as part of life. It's not just part of the holidays. We all must learn to handle stress better. We just and just not complain about it at the holidays. You understand? That's what we're doing. Because we don't address it all year long. When we get sick, or when the holidays come, or when there's any kind of stressor, a deadline or something, that's when it shows, and that's when we complain about it. But it doesn't go away. It's always there. You're either dormant with it or you're active with it. But it's always there. What if we just remove it? What if we just remove it? Pretty cool. We should work on ourselves throughout the year. Why? Well, balance is everything. When something stresses you out, guys, balance is everything. Being able to maintain and take care of yourself through a stressful period. Eat right. Know that you need to take care of yourself in certain ways. Really important, right? And I think this goes back also to your values. I mentioned that creativity was a value of mine. But I also have balance points that I love. Balance points that I wouldn't be who I am as Martha if I didn't have certain balance points. Yes, one of them is my creativity and appreciation for beauty and my love of people and animals. But another thing that I just adore is nature. I love it. I love being in the Appalachian Mountains because they're so ancient, one of the most ancient places in the world. I can kind of feel that. It's just fabulous. I love wildlife. I love these animals in my home. I love color, light, sounds, good literature, and all of that. Words thrill me. Those things are extremely important. By the way, my family's first. I love my family. Okay? You need to know what you love. Can I tell you something interesting? And if you've read my book, The Life You Want, you saw this. My dad had dementia at the end of his life. He always worked with a lot of chemicals and things like that, and I think that probably contributed a lot to his state. I don't know. You never know what it is. But anyway, here's something remarkable about what I observed. He never forgot what he loved. Not ever forgot what he loved. Not ever. He always remembered what he loved. Guys, find out what you love now. and exploit and explore those things. Make life worth living for yourself. Depression can, by the way, cloud your ability to see that. I understand that. I've always said that depression is like having a table full of beautiful things, but there's a blanket over it so you can't quite see what you love and pick up and explore. So that needs to be addressed. What the source of the depression is. Many times the source of the depression. I'm sorry, I'm throwing a pin at my cat because he likes to get in my flowers and I don't want him to. This is a working house, isn't it? This is a real house just like yours. Okay. Another thing I want you all to look at to see if it's yours is perfectionism issues. Perfectionism. I am shocked that so many people don't know that this is an issue. Perfectionism is an issue, kids. The perfectly decorated holiday home, the perfect holiday meal, the perfect gift, the perfect outfit. These things are actually there to, hey, how are you, cat? They're actually there and remove you from what the holiday should be about, what your life should be about. Coming together, connecting, joy, love. Throw in some OCD that tells you, that sets a standard that is a perfect standard. And all of a sudden, you get a person who puts tasks above people. Guys, tasks above people is never going to work out well. Never. You will either not enjoy the holidays or you're spoiling it for everybody else just to have a lovely table. Are you kidding me? What's really important here? It's people. It's connection. It's love. It's warmth. It's coming together to celebrate the things you have in common and celebrate your differences. It's a celebration. It's not about the perfect anything. And here's the thing. Is anything perfect? No. You know where the perfection is? Only in God. God is the perfection. And the only way to that, and your knowledge that your life has been absolutely perfect, which is part of spiritual surrender, is to embrace the imperfection. Is to embrace the imperfection. That's where the perfection is. That's where your eyes open and go, I'm just human. But I'm also, God is right here in the aspect that I am. And that's when our perspective changes about everything. The next point, number 6. Don't revisit the past. Don't yearn for the good old days or what might have been. I know people that just keep everything that belonged to their family, not just the antiques every little thing, even if they don't enjoy it. They hated their father, and yet pictures of him are all over the house. Things like that. It's like, what? You wear jewelry for somebody that you don't like. I don't understand it. You have to be willing to give that up and not compare now to then. This now has never come before. If it seems like it's come before, it's because you're creating the same thing over and over again by rote. But what if this is a unique creative moment? What if it will never come again? Doesn't that thrill you to create something wonderful here? I think, to me, it does. What's on your plate right now? And if you don't like it, make it better next year. But it's so important to embrace the now. Make it a creative experience. And here is Schnitzel. He's the cat that I threw the pencil at. By the way, I didn't hit him. I never do. Whoops, there he goes. Sorry about that. Okay. Number 7. Well, so number 6 is deal with everything in present time. Okay? Okay, sweetheart. Number 7, work on increasing your sensitivity. This is related to something I said earlier. Many people don't know what they're feeling until they are well over the line and already in the reactive state. In other words, the energy spiral. Oh, here we go. This is Schnitzel. He is a very good boy, but he is needy this morning because his mother got up very early and had things to do. I put tasks before kitties, which he is telling me that's not a good idea, so take it from Schnitzel. We must not do that. Okay. Going back to this. Many people, as I said, don't know what they're feeling until they're well over the line into the emotional spiral. Okay? So it becomes important for you to check in on yourself and know the first stages of being fatigued or feeling overwhelmed or irritable or stressed in some way. Oh, hey, yes. Meow, hello, Jay. Oh, I'm so glad that you tuned in today. How nice to see a friend. That's just great. All of you all are friends. I've known Jay now. Jay, what? A couple of years, I guess, huh? I hope you're doing well. Happy holidays. The only time to address the emotional spiral and really be successful is as you're getting into it before it is taken off. You understand? It's on the front end of the experience. Once we are in it, you lose perspective and you don't even know you're in it until you're almost finished with it. And you've wasted a lot of time. Not that any time is wasted, but you know, if you have a choice between making yourself miserable and being in a state of happiness and joy or neutrality, you've sacrificed those things because you've gone into the emotional spiral, which, by the way, is very familiar. You see, we tend to go to the familiar. We know where the rocks and the waters are, even if the water is rocky, right? And it never occurs to us we can do something else. We can think new thoughts. We can do new things. First of all, kids, you got to know what's going on. You have to see it. And this means checking in on how you're feeling frequently, being able to call emotions what they are and name them, and confront the lies that you're telling yourself, because they are going to be lies mixed in there. You've heard me say this before, I'll say this again. One of the ways you become emotionally articulate is to print out an emotion sheet on the computer. Get on the computer and, for heaven's sakes, go to the longest list of emotions you can find. And keep that by your bedside and keep a copy of it with you at all times and pull it out throughout the day and say, what am I feeling right now? Now, the interesting thing is everything has an emotional moment, however subtle. You know, I came from the theater world, the acting world, and I would always challenge students, because if they were in a scene and all they said was yes, a lot of times they just say yes, and there was no emotion underneath. What do you mean by yes? Is that a committed yes? Is that something to placate somebody? What's your emotion underneath? Why are you saying yes? Let's attach that. There are a million reasons to say yes. The reasons fall under you mean it or you don't mean it. So what do you mean here? You see? Okay. The same thing is true. You've got to be able to speak the language of emotion. You've got to know why you're saying certain things. You've got to know what you're feeling in a subtle manner. So it's not just when you're arguing with your spouse that you go and pick up the sheet and say, I feel anger, I feel annoyed, I feel irritable, I feel... Okay, that's fine. And by the way, all those are a part of an anger, a rage. Okay. What's more important are those moments of holding the kitty, of talking to a friend, of cleaning the cat boxes, of seeing what the dog is barking at. That you have emotions that are more subtle, that if you can define those, make you more articulate with all emotion. So I say, go and get those lists. Now, one of the things I want you to know that I've also said before is all emotion, really we have only two emotions. We have love and we have fear. And every one of those emotions that you see on the sheet are going to be based in one or the other. Okay? And they're also going to be based in the ego, child's mind, of the highest self. And the same word can mean both. You understand that, right? I mean, for example, communication. If if one of my emotions is the desire to communicate. Am I desiring to communicate because I'm needy and because I lack something and because I want somebody to take care of me, or I want somebody to be there if I ever get in trouble? Ego child's mind. Or do I have a desire to communicate because I want people to know who I am, I want to know who they are? It's a sharing, it's a deepening, it's a more of a connection. So look at those things in terms of these words. Get more articulate. It isn't what you say, it's why you're saying it. It isn't what you feel, it's why you're feeling it. Your motivations are the key. It's the door that opens deeper knowledge. That's really important. Number 8. The lies you're telling yourself, usually around holidays, really about any other time, are that something should be done or must be done or should be felt or must be felt or should be thought or shouldn't be thought, or you understand? Or must be thought. Shoulds and musts really need to be looked at in your vocabulary. These are things that cause you to sacrifice pace, which is a blessing, knowing how much you can do, being realistic about things. And it also causes you to sacrifice priorities. What needs to be done first, second, third, fourth? There are people that when they're in OCD, and other people too, a lot of emotional defenses and disorders cause you to not prioritize. What's most important? What's the second most important? What's the third most important? That's how not to make yourself crazy. Everything isn't important, kids. Everything isn't important. I went to the most wonderful party 2 nights ago. It was absolutely fabulous. This woman decorates to the hilt. I've never seen such decorations in my life. It occurred to me that I guess I have not been over to her house on a Christmas before, at least not to the extent that she decorated this year. I've never seen anything like it, and it was an excellent meal, and everything about the evening was absolutely perfect in every way. I can't do that. I'd like to. But darlings, I can't. I don't have that kind of time and energy. I do the best I can. Why isn't that enough? You see, it is. It is. I sure did like going over there, though. Oh, that was just divine. What a wonderful experience. But it's not going to shame me. If anything, it's going to inspire me. I came home and finished my decorations, but mine are meager compared to hers, and that's all right. You see? I sure did appreciate hers. It was so pretty. Okay. Guys, there's so little that should be done or must be done. Stop rushing to outcomes. It separates you from the moment. It separates you from what everything is really about. And it's true in life. Rushing to outcomes. You know, I have that friend that I told you was full of self-sacrifice, always rushes to outcomes because she wants to attach, right? She wants to get on with it. She wants to make sure she's safe. She rushes to outcomes. She creates these things, controls these things as best she can. Rush. Oh. Okay, can you get down? Good. Let's talk about isolation and loneliness. I think that these are words that we don't like to admit to ourselves, that we isolate, that we withdraw, that we are lonely. Why not just say it? It is a human condition. It's certainly part of the ego child's mind, isn't it? we isolate, we withdraw. We're lonely because we're afraid in many cases. Now, guys, part of this is knowing yourself really well too, because what would you think? I'm an introvert or extrovert? Everybody says, oh, you're an extrovert. Oh my God, you're such an extrovert. I'm actually the biggest introvert you know. But I'll tell you what I'm doing, because I came up with a system of energy that I teach in corporations to work with energy. And there, people that are introverts get energy from being alone. People that are extroverts get energy from people. Remember, there's a sliding scale here. You may be a 5 or 6 on the scale. You know, if 0 is introvertism, 10 is extrovertism, you're somewhere on this. I'm pretty easy because I'm all the way at the end. Okay, I'm an introvert. But I'm doing something that some people don't do. And that is, I ask myself before I do almost everything. Do I have the energy for this, or do I need the energy for myself? And when I am not doing something like talking to you on the radio, or having friends over, or going to a friend's house, I isolate. I'm a big isolator. I may be writing, I may be reading, I may be getting information from the television, I may be, and by the way, there's always information from the television. I'm not talking about news shows. I write fiction. So I like other people's writings. How exciting is that? I adore movies and all that. I like stories. I like, and all of our stories are just part of all of our stories, It comes out differently somewhere 40 years later in a writing that we've done. A little twist. Who are you on this scale from 0 to 10? And are you asking yourself what you want to do? Are you asking yourself what you really need? And is this need based because it's the right thing to do in the highest self? Or is it based in an issue, isolating and withdrawing because you're afraid of being hurt, afraid of people, afraid that don't have any energy because you've overworked yourself to smithereens and you just can't go and connect? Nice excuse. Okay. So, I think being isolated and lonely are really important things to admit. I think we need to acknowledge it, and then you need to reach out. Other people are lonely too, and the holidays are a time to be generous, to be kind, to think of others, to tell others what they mean to you. I think quarantining has really done a number on extroverts, quite frankly. Extroverts I know, or at least the people that lean in that direction, have a worse time than the introverts. I understand that. But just because, let's say, you've broken your leg and you can't play football anymore, doesn't mean you can't ultimately, when the leg heals more, swim or do a different sport that doesn't challenge that area anymore. And the same is true here. We must connect in a different way. I have people that are single and they don't want to date online because it's an excuse. They say, oh, well, who can do that? I mean, we've all got COVID-19 and that we're afraid of and blah, blah, blah. And I say, what a perfect time to date online, because you got COVID out there. So get to know someone over Skype, get to know someone over Zoom, on the phone. Find out who you are in a very safe way. They don't know where you are. They don't know anything about you. Wouldn't that be nice to connect that way? Sweetheart, there are no limitations here except those we put on ourselves. Why? Number 10, we should release emotion, not by fighting on the funeral parlor lawn, but that's what creativity is for, kids. You know, whether you're a professional or an amateur, go create something. Make jewelry, make a machine, build a boat in the basement, write something, paint something, sculpt something. Just have some fun. That's something fun to get and give yourself at the holidays and have under the tree. Something you can work on that way that you're excited about. Release emotion through creativity. It's been done since time immemorial, but also through talk. We don't heal unless we talk about something. Do you realize that? It's not going to go away. And many people have learned to have the avoidant personality disorder. Do you know what the avoidant personality is? It is somebody who doesn't do things because they think that they're not going to be good at it, they're going to fail at it, they're afraid of it, they're afraid of the people in it. Anything that triggers that fear, they avoid. You can't go through life that way. We can't avoid anything. Talk about things. Do you think people are going to feel less of you because you talk about your vulnerabilities? You choose the right people, and they are loving and good people, and they're going to think more of you because you're honest for the first time in your life. That is so important. Emotional honesty, kids. Not many people have it. Look at the news. But you have it if you're going to go on this journey to consciousness. It's a really important thing to have. Emotional honesty. That doesn't mean that you have to tell everything to everybody, because some people around you are not good people. Some people are not trustworthy. Some people don't know about this reciprocal thing. Sometimes people don't have any consciousness at all. Well, that's all right. Good for them. But don't tell those people your life story or load the gun for them so you'll be surprised when they aim it at you, fully loaded because you loaded it for them. Don't do that. Know who you're talking to. That's honestly honoring them, isn't it, to know who you're talking to? There are some people that can only take a little of you. And there's some people that you know are your true friends because they can accept all of you. Doesn't matter anything that you've done or have not done. They love you anyway. That's taking a chance on the love that's there in all of us and for all of us that I referred to earlier. You see, when you were young, when you were a child, you equated certain things. You tied certain things to love. We attach certain things. They're linked, you know. For example, in our early childhood homes, whatever they were like, we got from the news, we got from social media, we got from other people, from families, from society at large, that everybody loves each other in a family, and yet there was backstabbing, there was violence, there was heartbreak, there was disappointment, there was depression, there was God knows all the other things that mankind can feel and do to each other. So, believe it or not, you have linked whatever you had in your early childhood home to love. Abandonment, for example, that's a common one. That somebody's going to leave you if you don't do what they expect and say, if they don't approve of you. Well, what am I going to say now? I'm going to say you got to de-link those things. Certainly, work on yourself will de-link those things. But you need to consider it, see how you're doing it, you know? I'm always asking, when you come to me for a session, I'm always saying, all right, what happened this week? Let's hear about it. Let's see. And usually, everything ties together. There'll be an issue that absolutely went back to the childhood. And the way you responded, back to the childhood. will give you a lot of other options, a lot of other thought about it. And all of a sudden you go, do I need to carry that anymore? The whole body changes and says, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to think about it. I don't even have to think about that anymore. Eventually these things drop away when we find out all the things that you're doing with it. Have reasonable, this is number 11, have reasonable expectations about the holidays, about your life, about how much work you need to do. And if you don't know what those reasonable expectations are, you need to talk to someone. You need to talk to a balanced friend or a therapist about it. You need to learn to pace yourself, learn to prioritize, as we said earlier. These things are not given as we grow up. We have to learn them in many cases. So if you're talking to someone who has a very clear sight about this, who has moved through this themselves years ago, or knows about them in some way, usually that way, that's a really good thing for you to do, and listen to them, not just complain to them, so that you can start making little changes in your own lives. You know, for example, when I work with people who are workaholics and they're tired all the time and they dream about work, I say, take your camera phone on your phone and go out into the yard and start taking pictures. Find something beautiful for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Walk your dog, play with your dog, play with your cat. Go eat something out of the refrigerator that's a lovely thing. Do something and get up and move and go and create and let the ideas flow and change your mind about this focus that is narrow. I've noticed for years that when I'm writing, whether it was when I was writing music or when I'm writing a book or something, it isn't that I go blank. It's just my body says, get up. And I'll go downstairs and raid the refrigerator, which I probably shouldn't do, or I'll go outside and take pictures. I do the things that I'm recommending right now, just to, and usually within 2 minutes, new ideas form. I can't wait to get back to the computer. I can't wait to write those down. I have a pad in the kitchen too that I write things down on that come to me that I'm going to expand on when I come back to the computer. If you have been denied creativity in your life, I want to say this, and many people have. Many people have. And instead of saying, okay, I was denied creativity in my life, what can I do about it? I want to explore my creativity. They say instead, oh, I'm not creative. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. It's bull. Every single one of you is creative in your way. Every single one of you. My husband's an engineer. He's one of the most creative people I've met in his arena. I'm creative in my arena. You're usually creative in 2 or 3 things, by the way. And if you haven't found those things, if you haven't given yourself permission to explore those things, you get off your duff and do it this year. Because that's going to really, really give you something to look forward to. It's going to give you a life expression. You don't know where that's going to lead. Everybody's not going to be John Steinbeck, but I'll tell you, it's going to enhance your life in ways you have never seen before. If you just give yourself permission to do it. I sound like a Nike commercial, don't I? They had something there. Number 12, don't ever forget to take care of yourself. I think you very much need to know what you need. Now, if you haven't found out what you need to find out now. This is the year for it, you know. In my book, The Life You Want, that I've been quoting from for the last several weeks and talking about That's a really important thing, by the way. You can buy it on the website if you're interested. It covers 3 very important topics, which is what is God to you in terms of consciousness? How do we need to think about this? It covers how to manifest, how to create a life, what the energetic experience is there, how to do it. And by the way, this is beyond a lot of things that are said about how to do it. It goes into a little more detail. And number 3, it talks about spiritual surrender, which is at the end, or is it at the beginning of your journey to self, where you go through the triad of awareness, consciousness to enlightenment, where you absolutely know that you have never been alone, that God is with you all the time, and that everything is perfect. That's what you're going to be left with there. It's the most exciting thing in the world. And then that's the beginning of the exploration of your potential. Well, everything is the exploration of your potential, even when you have been in the ego child's mind and in lack. It's still there. It's just in energy, and you can't use it until you get certain patterns in your mind out of the way. Move from the ego child's mind to the highest self mind. All doable, all exciting. But, we can't get so busy during the holidays that we forget who we are. You continue to be who you are. I continue to be creative. I continue to love my animals. I continue to love people. I adore my family, put them first. I continue to try to eat right, take my vitamins, do what I need to do physically for me. I continue to do what I need to do. And I must have those in my routine, and you must too. Self-care. Don't sacrifice it. Number 13. I think it's really important, again, the self-talk, to acknowledge grief, loneliness, and disappointment. Talking to therapists, yes. Learning how to self-soothe and talk is very important, but addressing what's wrong and getting rid of that so you don't have to self-soothe and self-talk is really important. You also need to catch yourself on self-soothing as part of an issue. Some people treat themselves so harshly that they continue to do so, and what they get out of it is how they self-soothe once they've mistreated themselves. Isn't that wild? And they do it because that's the only kindness they give themselves. What? There's a better way, and y'all need to learn it if you recognize that in you. Guys, there are gifts in every single thing. Do you know that? There are gifts in every single thing. There are always gifts. Can you find it in yourself to feel grateful now for things just as they are? What are you grateful about in that? Even if you don't like it, what are you grateful about? You're not finished with your work until you feel that gratitude. It comes up naturally. And gratitude has its natural home in the highest self. It's one of the most beautiful things in the world. I'm going to tell you, you don't like people very much that are not grateful. You don't. Even if you're hanging with them and you all are constantly complaining, you don't like yourself or them very much. Because gratitude is one of the most beautiful, sacred things that human beings can feel. We don't feel it in the ego child's mind as much. If we do feel it, it usually has a very self-indulgent, selfish core. But there is that true altruistic gratitude, true gratitude. That is a beautiful thing. And by the way, this is the one thing that'll help you create better than anything, is be grateful for what you've got already. Find the gifts in it. God already knows what you want because it's all you are. It's just in high and low degrees. You see, the ego child's mind is still God. Highest self mind, all God. Can't get away from it. But what you may not be doing is using the energy really well. Now go back several weeks. We talked about creating the life you want. We did a little series on it and how to use the energy well. And it's all over this book that I just recommended too, The Life You Want. Don't be afraid. This is number 14. Don't be afraid to create new traditions. I'm going to tell you right now, there are no enlightened traditionalists. So when I say create new traditions, it's not only creating it today, in this moment, and in this holiday, but the next and the next and the next. Why not do something different every time? Why not have marvelous expansions of thought and being and friends and everything? So while it's fun to have a tradition, change it up a little bit so that it's not just a rigid tradition. I'll never forget a woman several years ago. She's not like this now. Several years ago, though, she was OCD of the max, and she always made a big mess of the holidays because she put tasks before people. People just always got mad at her. She got mad at them because she was so stressed and irritable and angry, and everything had to be perfect. And oh my God. And I remember challenging her holiday tradition in the very beginning of my working with her. And she had a fit. She yelled at me. She said, oh, no, I can't possibly do that. I have to do this. Everybody's expecting this. I have a standard I have to live up to. It was all in her head, right? She couldn't prioritize either. It was just overwhelming every year. I am happy to say, after years of our working together, she lets other people do things. She shows up. She will occasionally have it at her house. Everybody brings something. She doesn't have to do it all. It's a wonderful life. There's a reason why people are unhappy. Are you going to be brave enough to find it and change it? Now, I want to talk about some things that I've learned specifically, because my family was my core family. I found I have cousins now, thanks to 23andMe and Ancestry.com, whom I just adore. I met a second cousin. That's a big deal this year. But they are also third cousins, and third cousins by marriage that I adore too. But my core family, before I found these darling people, were only 8 people max. And everybody's dead. Whether they were younger than me or older than me, they're all dead. They died around 2001. Everybody was gone. I felt really sorry for myself. Because, and I'm just talking about my experience because this goes with any holiday, but I was reared in a Christmas holiday tradition, and my Christmas days and Christmas Eves were magical. Everybody was nice. I felt I belonged. People were kind and generous and good on those days. So when everybody was gone, I felt really sorry for myself and very alone. And there were about 2 or 3 years that I didn't do any things. Now, usually, my family were big decorators and big holiday people, and we always had a green tree and, things like that. So I had to find what was going on. And I had at that time a dear friend named Tim. And Tim's partner he was gay. Tim's partner was going to his family. His family didn't accept that he was gay, so my friend Tim got left behind. And when I heard that, I said, "Oh, Tim, come over. I'll cook for you. Let's have Christmas together." And he said, "No, I don't want to do that." He said, "I'll go to the spa with you on the 26th if you want," which indeed we did. But he said, "I have the best time at Christmas." He said, "I cook for myself. I make it the best dinner I've ever had. I collect recipes all year for things that are exotic to try, and I make all this for myself. And I have little presents that I bought for myself all year long, and I can't remember what they are. So I've wrapped them all up, and they're all under the tree for me to open. And there's always something for me to learn and work on, and I have the best." And all of a sudden, my brain exploded. It was like, I get it. I get it. Are we worth doing for? Are we only doing for other people? Have we found our holiday inside us? Or are we doing it because it's expected of us, or we want somebody to do for us? What exactly is this all about? One of the things that I did, and this was a long time ago, from that point on, was I made decorating a tree an enormously spiritual experience. I don't want to have a decorate the tree party. I have nothing I want to do with that. When I unwrapped each ornament represents a year or two of my life, or events that happened in my life. They're not just idle stuff that I throw in the tree. I usually buy an ornament or two to represent what happened that year. So when I'm decorating the tree, it's about gratitude. It's a spiritual experience. It's the personal experience of unwrapping my life and seeing that as a whole represented by this tree and the ornaments that are on it, and being so grateful. It is saying, "I'm here." There it is. It's an outward expression of who I am. That's so important for you to do, even if you've not ever done that before. Go to the store and buy a few ornaments that to you represent your life, what you have been, what you are becoming, who you are. Who you are right now, what this year has been about. And then every year afterwards, an ornament or two or three of the highlights of your year, okay? You know what my husband is doing is taking boxes down from the Christmas stuff, so that's the noise you hear in the background. Number 2, if you've never done this before, go out and pick up those things now. Add them year after year. Oh, it's so important. Tim was right. You should buy yourself little things. Wrap them up. Put them under the tree, particularly if you're by yourself, by the way. But now that I'm in my second marriage, I often buy little things I want and say, "You're giving me this for Christmas," and he'll take it and wrap it up. And it's wonderful because I don't remember what I bought. Little things throughout the year. Oh, it's always something I want, isn't it? Because I bought it. I just don't remember buying it. Who remembers what they bought in July? So it's something that you want, delightful way. And so it's a wonderful way to love yourself and to feel grateful for everything. Whether you're single or whether you're in a partnership, doesn't matter, does it? In terms of this. Number 3, knowing that you're inclined to be vulnerable on a particular day. My holidays were always on the 25th. That was the big day for us. On the 24th, that was my husband's holiday, because he's Austrian and they celebrate on the night of the 24th. Whatever day you're inclined to be vulnerable on, make sure you've brought yourself a project, something to put together or to learn about, clothes to try on, something that requires your attention and focus, something that you're terrifically interested in using as soon as you can put it together. I can't tell you how important this is. So you get a new camera, you don't know how to work. That's on the expensive end, I know. But it's just an example. You read that manual, you get involved, you start taking some pictures, you experiment with it, right? And all of a sudden, you've got something to do other than feel sorry for yourself. And that's really important, kids. You've got a puzzle to put together. You've got a manual to read. You've got this marvelous machine to work. You've got something. Knowing you're vulnerable, do that. Also, please reach out to others. Call people you care about and wish them a happy holiday. For no reason other than you want to give your love. Not for the selfish reasons of, I feel alone, I need to connect with somebody. Get into that highest self mode. Give of yourself. Cook for yourself, guys. Get in the bloomin' kitchen. Get on the internet. Find some fabulous recipes that sound good. Go to town. Buy all the ingredients. Just cook yourself the best holiday dinner ever. I say this, especially if you're single. Because at some point in your spiritual awakening, you have got to wake up to the fact that you're worth doing for. That's what Tim did for me. Wait a minute. Am I worth doing for or not? All alone. Now, am I? Or not? And you are. Please take my advice. Do for yourself. Make it a wonderful day. Many times we do for others, and it never occurs to us that we're worth doing for. And that's a real spiritual awakening that we are. By the way, not just on the holidays, but every day. Find that out. Please find that out for yourself. And I want to say that I love rituals. One of the things that holidays are so important about is their ritual, right? Their ritual. But what if you build a lot of rituals in this year? This is one of my wishes for you. You know, you get a new job. Let's do something to celebrate that wonderful new job. Something not only on the exterior, going to a bar with friends and raising a glass, but on the interior of you. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to pray, you're going to meditate, you're going to say thank you, you're going to celebrate in some way, you're going to open your mind. What's going to happen here? It's interesting because I believe in these lovely rituals tremendously. I believe in patting yourself on the back. I believe in going out and buying yourself a little something to say, good job doing that hard thing that you didn't want to do. And the other day, I have a friend now who is selling her house and moving up here. Isn't that nice? I'm going to have a friend in about 40 minutes away who's a very close friend. And she's having a hard time selling her house. And I said, darling, ritualize this, because I sold my house in no time. I said, I love this house. I love this house. I put my hands on the wall. I said, I am so grateful for everything you've given me. I'm so grateful for the shelter you provided me and the safety and the beauty that I've created here and all around. It's just been absolutely wonderful. And now it's time for not only another family to come in and make you wonderful according to them, but that I carry the spirit of you within me to create another abode somewhere else. And I am so grateful to have this feeling of you, because I spent 12 years there maybe, And it was just wonderful. They were glorious times. Much of them alone, by the way, where I grew and I saw who I was and I matured and developed my program even more. Animals came and went, whom I loved with all my heart, who supported me in that growth and change and opportunity. So this week, I talked to her because I told it to her last week. I said, that's how to sell the house, I think, you know. And she half-heartedly did it. She said, I didn't feel it when I was doing anything. She's still struggling. Okay. Guys, mean what you say. Take the time. Don't rush. It's the same person that's rushing to outcomes, okay? Don't do that. Not going to serve you. One other thing. Two other things. Every single life needs something to look forward to on a regular basis. Create it for yourself and take the initiative in this. Give yourself something to look forward to at all times. Create it, create it, create it. Doesn't have to be big things, it can be little things. But give yourself something to look forward to. Not just on the holiday, but all the time. That's how to make your life worth living. You do it. Somebody else doesn't do it for you. Years ago, I saw Zsa Gabor on something, Zsa Gabor on something or other. And she had this honker of a ring on, right? And I think one of the hosts said, did your latest husband buy that for you? And she said, oh, no, darling. I can't do her accent, but she said, the things I most love, I buy for myself. That stuck with me all these years. That must have been 50 or 60 years ago. It certainly stuck with me. And nobody knows you like you. The other thing I want to mention is New Year's Eve, another holiday, right? I don't go out on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is a time for gratitude. Time to let the year wash over me. It's just me being grateful. It's very simple. Me being grateful. New Year's Day, I try to be entirely open. If New Year's Eve is reflective, New Year's Day is just about everything that's here now and what's to come. All good. Do you believe it's all good? It's all good. Sometimes we have to challenge what we believe about whether something is all good or not, or whether anything can hurt us. You'll get to the point, I promise, in this work where you just don't believe in thwarts anymore. If the thwarts are there, they're all coming from inside us. Let's fix it.
90 seconds.
Whoops, 90 seconds. Guys, thank you so much for everything that you give me throughout the year. I'm very grateful. I'll be taking the next 2 weekends off. I'll see you the first week in January for another radio show. But I'm going to be thinking about you lovely people out there. They're all friends of mine. And I wish you the happiest holidays. You can do a lot for me. Please get the word around about this show to your friends and to social media. That would just mean the world to us. And we thank you so much for everything. Thank you with all our hearts. From here, from all the people I work with, thank you for that sweet thing. Thank you. And thank you for being so faithful and lovely as my friends. Oh, thank you, Jay. The same to you and to all. Gratitude and season's blessings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm praying for you right now. The grace of God is in all of you. The highest self is there. Use it. Challenge what's in the ego child's mind, not to vilify it, but to get beyond it and to see more and to put it to rest.
10 seconds.
Okay? God bless you. Have a happy, happy holidays. Bye-bye.